The vast expanse of the Milky Way galaxy buzzed with activity. Countless alien civilizations, each with their own agenda, vied for power and resources. In recent years, the delicate balance that had kept relative peace was starting to crumble. At the edge of this cosmic chessboard, a young species was taking its first steps into the galactic community. Humans, barely a century into their interstellar journey, found themselves in the middle of a brewing storm. The year was 2157, and Earth's first colony on Mars was thriving. Humanity had just established its first extrasolar outpost in the Alpha Centauri system. The excitement of these achievements was palpable across human space. However, the joy was short-lived as news of galactic unrest reached Earth's leaders. Admiral Sarah Chen, head of the United Earth Space Force, sat in her office overlooking the sprawling metropolis of New Shanghai. Her holographic display flickered with reports from various alien encounters. She rubbed her temples, trying to make sense of the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined galactic politics. "Computer, summarize the current galactic situation," she commanded. A smooth, gender-neutral voice responded. "The Xeraxian Empire and the Dral Confederation are engaged in a territorial dispute over the resource-rich Orion Arm. The Galactic Council has failed to mediate, leading to increased military buildup on both sides. Several smaller species are being pressured to choose sides." Chen sighed. Humanity was still finding its footing among the stars, and now they were being pulled into a conflict they barely understood. Across the galaxy, on the planet Xerax Prime, Emperor Khazard paced in his war room. His tentacles twitched with anticipation as he addressed his generals. "The humans," he gurgled in his native tongue. "What do we know of their military capabilities?" General Vextor, a battle-scarred veteran, stepped forward. "Your Highness, our intelligence suggests their technology is primitive compared to ours. However, they have shown remarkable adaptability and innovation." The Emperor's compound eyes narrowed. "Can they be swayed to our cause?" "It's possible," Vextor replied. "Their resources and strategic location could be valuable." Meanwhile, in the crystalline halls of the Dral Confederation, High Chancellor Xyra contemplated her next move. The drill, a silicon-based life form, communicated through pulses of light that danced across their translucent bodies. "The humans are an unknown variable," Xyra pulsed to her advisors. "We must approach them with caution. Their planet is rich in water, a resource we desperately need." Back on Earth, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered to discuss the growing galactic crisis. Dr. Aisha Patel, Earth's foremost xenodiplomat, addressed the assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we stand at a crossroads. The galaxy is dividing, and we are being asked to choose a side. But I implore you, we must not rush into this decision." Murmurs filled the chamber as delegates debated among themselves. Some argued for aligning with the powerful Xeraxians, others for the technologically advanced Dral. A few voices called for strict neutrality. As the debate raged, a message arrived from the Alpha Centauri colony. Commander Jack O'Neill's hologram appeared before the council, his face grim. "We've just had our first direct contact with both Xeraxian and Dral envoys," he reported. "They're insistent on knowing where we stand. We need clear directives, and fast." The tension in the room was palpable. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. First contact with alien civilizations, but now that it had arrived, it came with the threat of war. Admiral Chen, who had been silently observing the proceedings, finally spoke up. "We need more time. We need to understand the full picture before we commit to any course of action." Dr. Patel nodded in agreement. "I propose we send diplomatic missions to both the Xeraxians and the Dral. We need to gather more information to understand their motivations and the true nature of this conflict." As the council deliberated, news of the galactic tension spread across human space. On Earth, Mars, and Alpha Centauri, people looked to the stars with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Humanity stood on the brink of a new era, one that would test their wisdom, courage, and their deep-rooted aversion to war, born from centuries of conflict on their home planet. The stage was set. The galaxy watched and waited. And humanity, the newcomers to this cosmic drama, prepared to navigate the treacherous waters of interstellar politics. Little did they know, their unique perspective on war was about to change the course of galactic history. As news of the brewing galactic conflict spread, all eyes turned to the newcomers, the humans. Alien civilizations watched with a mixture of curiosity and confusion as humanity steadfastly refused to take sides in the war. On the Zyraxian homeworld, Emperor Khazard's war room buzzed with activity. Holographic displays showed the positions of various species across the galaxy. One particular hologram, representing Earth, glowed with a puzzling yellow color, neither ally nor enemy. "I don't understand," Khazard gurgled, his tentacles twitching in frustration. "Why won't they join us? We've offered them technology, resources, protection." General Vextor stepped forward, his battle-scarred exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights. "Your Highness, our psychologists have a theory. They believe the humans are afraid." Khazard's compound eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of disbelief in his species. "Afraid? Of what? We're offering them victory." "Not of us, Your Highness," Vextor explained. "They seem to be afraid of war itself." Across the galaxy, in the crystalline cities of the Draal Confederation, High Chancellor Xyra faced similar confusion. Her body pulsed with rapid flashes of light, communicating her agitation to her advisors. "The humans continue to rebuff our advances," she pulsed. "They speak of peace, of finding alternative solutions. Do they not understand the stakes?" Zura's chief diplomat, a being named Quartz, responded with slow, thoughtful pulses. "Chancellor, I believe we may be approaching this wrong. The humans' history is filled with devastating conflicts. Perhaps their reluctance stems from this." Meanwhile, on Earth, the United Nations Security Council was in session again. Dr. Aisha Patel stood before the assembly, her face grave as she delivered her report. "Both the Zyraxians and the Draal are growing impatient," she said. "They see our reluctance to choose sides as a sign of weakness. Some are even beginning to view us as a potential threat." Admiral Sarah Chen nodded, her expression grim. "We've detected increased alien activity near our borders. They're watching us, trying to figure out our angle." The room erupted in murmurs. A delegate from Brazil stood up. "But we have no angle. We just want to avoid another war. Haven't we had enough of those?" "That's just it," Dr. Patel replied. "To them, our desire to avoid conflict at all costs is alien. They can't understand it." As the debate raged on Earth, human colonies across the solar system and in Alpha Centauri faced their own challenges. On Mars, Governor Elena Rodriguez dealt with daily flyovers from alien ships, each trying to gauge the humans' military readiness. In the hydroponics bay of the Martian colony, Rodriguez met with her advisors. The red planet's dust storms raged outside, visible through reinforced windows. "They're testing our defenses," her military advisor, Colonel Wei, reported. "So far, they haven't made any aggressive moves, but the tension is palpable." Rodriguez sighed, looking out at the barren Martian landscape. "We've worked so hard to make this planet livable. I'll be damned if we let it become a battlefield." Back in Alpha Centauri, Commander Jack O'Neill faced a different kind of pressure. As the farthest human outpost, his colony was of great interest to both the Zyraxians and the Draal. O'Neill sat in his office, staring at the twin suns of Alpha Centauri through his viewport. A hologram of Admiral Chen flickered before him. "They're sending diplomats again," O'Neill reported. "But this time, they're bringing more ships as escorts." Chen's hologram nodded gravely. "Remember your orders, Commander. Be polite, be firm, but don't commit to anything. We need more time." As O'Neill's hologram faded, Chen turned to Dr. Patel, who had been listening in. "Time," Chen mused. "But time for what, Doctor?" Patel's eyes gleamed with determination. Time to show them another way, Admiral. A human way. Across human space, a unique response to the galactic crisis was forming. In universities, think tanks, and coffee shops, humans began to discuss and debate. They didn't talk about which side to join, but how to stop the war altogether. In a small classroom in Nairobi, a history professor named Dr. Mathoni addressed his students. Throughout our history, humanity has always found alternatives to conflict, from the Peace of Westphalia to the formation of the UN. Now, we face our greatest challenge yet, but I believe we will rise to it. As the galactic community watched in confusion and growing frustration, humanity stood firm in its refusal to go to war. Instead, they began to prepare for something the warmongering aliens never expected: a peace offensive. The human enigma deepened, and the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what these strange, peace-loving newcomers would do next. As the galactic tension continued to rise, alien civilizations turned their attention to understanding the puzzling humans. The Xeraxians and the Droil, along with other curious species, began to delve deep into Earth's history, hoping to uncover the reasons behind humanity's steadfast refusal to engage in war. On the bustling planet of Xerax Prime, a team of alien researchers huddled around a holographic display. Led by Dr. Zix, a renowned xenohistorian, they pored over Earth's historical records. Fascinating, Dr. Zix chittered, his antennae twitching with excitement. These humans have a long history of warfare, yet they refuse to join our conflict. It doesn't make sense. His assistant, Vreen, pointed a tendril of the hologram. Look at this period they call World War II. The scale of destruction is staggering. The team fell silent as they absorbed the images of devastated cities, millions of casualties, and the horrifying power of atomic weapons. Dr. Zix's compound eyes widened in realization. They're not afraid of fighting, he murmured. They're afraid of the consequences. Meanwhile, in the crystal archives of the Droll Confederation, another group of researchers made similar discoveries. The Droll, with their advanced data processing abilities, quickly synthesized centuries of human history. Archivist Prism, her body pulsing with rapid flashes of blue light, addressed her team. The humans have experienced something called a Cold War. It seems they developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet, yet never used them in conflict. Her colleague, Nova, glowed with a questioning yellow. But why develop such weapons if not to use them? Deterrence, Prism pulsed back. They created these weapons to prevent war, not to wage it. As alien civilizations uncovered more about Earth's violent past, a shift began to occur in the galactic community. The initial dismissal of humans as weak or naive gave way to a growing respect, tinged with fear. On Earth, the United Nations Security Council received reports of the aliens' investigations into human history. Dr. Aisha Patel stood before the assembly, her face a mix of concern and hope. The aliens are learning about our past, she said. They're beginning to understand the depth of our experience with war. This could change everything. Admiral Sarah Chen nodded thoughtfully. They're seeing that our reluctance isn't born of weakness, but of hard-won wisdom. In the corners of the galaxy, whispers spread about the humans' destructive potential. Species that had initially dismissed Earth now regarded it with cautious respect. On a neutral space station orbiting a gas giant, representatives from various alien races gathered to discuss the human situation. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. A Xeraxian diplomat raised a tentacle. These humans, they've split the atom, harnessed fusion, and even glimpsed the power of antimatter. Yet they choose not to use these weapons. Why? A Droll representative pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps they understand something we don't. The true cost of total war. As the galactic powers reassessed their view of humanity, Earth continued its efforts to promote peace. In universities and research centers across the planet, humans worked tirelessly to develop new diplomatic strategies and technologies aimed at conflict resolution. At the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Dr. Samantha Carter led a team developing an advanced AI system for interspecies negotiation. In her lab, surrounded by holographic displays and humming computers, she addressed her diverse team of scientists and diplomats. "The aliens are learning about our capacity for destruction," she said, her eyes glinting with determination. "Now, let's show them our capacity for peace." Across the solar system, human colonies prepared for the possibility of conflict while hoping for peace. On Mars, Governor Elena Rodriguez oversaw the installation of a planetary shield system, a testament to human ingenuity born from centuries of preparing for the worst. As she watched the shield flicker to life, Rodriguez turned to her aide. "We build these defenses not because we want war, but because we want to make war unthinkable." In the Alpha Centauri system, Commander Jack O'Neill hosted a delegation of alien observers. As they toured the human colony, the aliens marveled at the balance of military readiness and peaceful coexistence. O'Neill, noticing their confusion, smiled wryly. "We're always prepared for war, but we're dedicated to peace. It's a very human paradox." As Earth's history unfolded before the eyes of the galaxy, a new understanding began to emerge. The humans, with their unique perspective shaped by centuries of conflict and the specter of global annihilation, were not merely refusing war, they were offering a new path. The galaxy watched and waited, wondering if these strange creatures from Earth could indeed show them a way to resolve conflicts without resorting to devastating warfare. The human enigma deepened, and with it, the possibility of a new era in galactic history. As the galaxy grappled with their new understanding of humanity, Earth seized the opportunity to step onto the galactic stage. With their unique position as newcomers and their reputation for both destructive potential and peace-seeking, humans found themselves in an unexpected role. Mediators in a cosmic conflict. Dr. Aisha Patel, Earth's top xenodiplomat, stood before the United Nations Security Council. Her eyes sparkled with determination as she outlined humanity's bold new strategy. "We've been invited to the peace talks between the Ziraxians and the Drell," she announced. "This is our chance to show the galaxy a different way." Admiral Sarah Chen nodded, her expression a mix of hope and caution. "It's a risky move, Doctor. We'll be stepping into the crossfire of two powerful civilizations." "True," Patel agreed. "But it's also an opportunity to prevent a war that could engulf the entire galaxy." As Earth prepared its diplomatic mission, the news spread across human space. On Mars, Governor Elena Rodriguez addressed a crowd of colonists, her voice carrying across the dome of the main settlement. "We came to Mars as pioneers, seeking a new world," she said. "Now we have the chance to help build a new galactic order, one based on understanding and peace, not conquest and war." The crowd cheered, their voices echoing with hope and determination. In the Alpha Centauri system, Commander Jack O'Neill prepared his station to host the historic peace talks. As he oversaw the preparations, he couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. "Who would have thought," he mused to his second-in-command, "that we go from being the new kids on the block to hosting peace talks between space empires?" As the day of the conference arrived, ships from across the galaxy descended on Alpha Centauri. The station's docking bays, filled with vessels of all shapes and sizes, from the massive, tentacled ships of the Ziraxians to the crystalline structures of the Drell. Dr. Patel stood at the entrance of the conference room, greeting each delegation. She nodded respectfully to Emperor Khazard of the Ziraxians, his tentacles twitching with barely contained aggression. Then she turned to High Chancellor Xyra of the Drell, whose crystalline form pulsed with wary lights. "Welcome to human space," Patel said, her voice calm and assured. "We are honored to host these talks and hope to facilitate a peaceful resolution to your conflict." As the delegates took their seats, tension filled the air. Centuries of mistrust and competition between the two powers seemed to make agreement impossible, but the humans had a plan. Dr. Patel opened the talks with a surprising move. Instead of diving into the details of the conflict, she began by sharing stories of Earth's history. She spoke of world wars, of the Cold War, and of the numerous times humanity had pulled back from the brink of destruction. "We've faced the abyss of total war," she said, her voice resonating through the chamber. "And we've learned that the cost of such conflict far outweighs any potential gains." The alien delegates listened, at first with skepticism, then with growing interest. The Xeraxian Emperor's tentacles, which had been twitching agitatedly, gradually stilled. The Droll High Chancellor's light pulses slowed to a thoughtful rhythm. As the talks progressed over several days, the humans introduced novel concepts of conflict resolution. They proposed economic cooperation zones in disputed areas, joint scientific missions, and cultural exchange programs. Ideas that seemed naive at first began to take root as the aliens saw the potential benefits of cooperation over conflict. On the third day of negotiations, a breakthrough came. Emperor Khazard, his voice gurgling with reluctance, addressed High Chancellor Xyra directly. "Perhaps," he said, "we have been too hasty in our rush to war. These humans, young as they are, have shown us another path." Xyra's form pulsed with agreement. "Indeed, their history is a warning, but their present offers hope." As word of the progress spread, the galaxy watched in amazement. Species that had been choosing sides now found themselves reconsidering their positions. The human approach, once dismissed as weak, was proving to be a powerful force for peace. Back on Earth, crowds gathered in cities around the world, watching the news from Alpha Centauri with bated breath. In Times Square, New York, a massive screen showed live updates from the peace talks. As news of the breakthrough came through, cheers erupted from the crowd. In her office overlooking the United Nations building, Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. "They did it," she murmured. "They actually did it." As the peace talks drew to a close, with a framework for lasting peace between the Xeraxians and Droll in place, the galaxy turned its attention to Earth with new eyes. The humans, it seemed, were not just refusing to go to war. They were showing the galaxy a new way to maintain peace. The diplomatic dance had been intricate and challenging, but humanity had proven itself up to the task. As Dr. Patel prepared to return to Earth, she knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the heart of that change. The initial success of the peace talks had brought a sense of hope to the galaxy. However, not all species were pleased with this turn of events. In the shadows of the cosmic political arena, a powerful and aggressive race known as the Volith had been watching the proceedings with growing displeasure. The Volith, a species of imposing, reptilian-like beings, had long profited from the conflicts between other races. They saw the humans' peacekeeping efforts as a threat to their way of life. In their vast war cruiser, orbiting a distant moon, the Volith leaders convened to discuss this new problem. Supreme Commander Zark, his scales gleaming under the harsh lights of the war room, addressed his council. "These humans," he hissed, "they upset the balance of power. They must be dealt with." His second-in-command, General Vex, nodded in agreement. "But how, Supreme Commander?" "They've gained the respect of many powerful races." Zark's eyes narrowed, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "We give them a choice they cannot escape. Join us in war or face destruction." Back on Earth, the celebration of their diplomatic success was cut short. In the middle of a UN Security Council meeting, alarms blared. Admiral Sarah Chen rushed to the command center, her face grim as she absorbed the incoming information. "We're picking up a massive energy signature entering our solar system," a young lieutenant reported, her voice shaking slightly. "It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Dr. Aisha Patel, who had just returned from the peace talks, joined Chen at the command console. "What is it?" she asked, her earlier triumph replaced by concern. Before Chen could answer, the main screen flickered to life. The imposing figure of Supreme Commander Zark filled the display, his reptilian features twisted in a menacing grin. "People of Earth," he began, his voice a low, threatening growl. "I am Supreme Commander Zark of the Volith Empire. Your meddling in galactic affairs has not gone unnoticed." The room fell silent as Zark continued. "You have two choices. Join us in our conquest of the galaxy, lending us your weapons and warriors, or face complete annihilation. You have 24 Earth hours to decide." As the transmission cut off, chaos erupted in the command center. Chen turned to Patel, her expression resolute. "Get me the president, now. And contact our allies. We need to know where they stand." Across human space, the news of the ultimatum spread like wildfire. On Mars, Governor Elena Rodriguez rallied her people, her voice echoing through the domed cities. "We've faced threats before," she declared. "We will not bow to these bullies." In the Alpha Centauri system, Commander Jack O'Neill prepared his defenses, coordinating with Earth and the nearby alien races who had come to respect humanity. "If they want to fight," he muttered, "they'll find we're not as easy a target as they think." Back on Earth, world leaders convened in an emergency session. The debate was heated, with some arguing for appeasement, others for defiance. As the arguments raged, Dr. Patel stepped forward, her voice cutting through the noise. "We've come too far to turn back now," she said, her words resonating with conviction. "We refused to go to war before, and we must refuse again. But this time, we're not alone." As if on cue, messages began pouring in from across the galaxy. The Xeraxians, the Droll, and many other races pledged their support to Earth. They had seen the value of peace, and they weren't about to let it slip away. Admiral Chen, reviewing the incoming pledges of support, allowed herself a small smile. "It seems our diplomatic dance has paid off, Doctor," she said to Patel. "But will it be enough?" In labs and think tanks across the globe, humans worked feverishly to find a solution. They knew that even with their allies, they were outgunned by the Volith. They needed something more, something uniquely human. Dr. Samantha Carter, the AI specialist from MIT, burst into the UN Command Center, her eyes bright with excitement. "I think we've got something," she announced. "A way to turn their own technology against them." As the hours ticked by, Earth prepared its response. It wasn't a preparation for war, but neither was it a surrender. It was something new, something that combined human ingenuity, the lessons of their history, and the strength of their newfound alliances. With just 1 hour left before the Volith's deadline, President Ileana Rossi of the United Earth government stood before a global audience. Her face was stern but not afraid as she addressed not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. To Supreme Commander Zark and the Volith Empire, she began, her voice steady and clear. "We have made our decision. We choose neither war nor surrender. Instead, we choose a third option, one that we invite you, and all races, to join us in." As she outlined Earth's plan, a ripple of hope spread across the galaxy. The humans, it seemed, had once again found a way to refuse war while standing up for peace. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the future of galactic civilization itself. The galaxy held its breath as humanity prepared to reveal its response to the Volith ultimatum. In the Grand Hall of the United Nations, President Ileana Rossi stood before a sea of holographic projections, representing leaders and diplomats from across Earth and beyond. "We choose to fight," President Rossi began, causing a ripple of surprise through the audience. But before the shock could settle, she continued, "Not with weapons, but with words. Not with destruction, but with creation. We choose to fight for peace." Dr. Aisha Patel stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We propose the formation of a galactic peace court," she announced. "A coalition of beings from all races, dedicated to solving conflicts through diplomacy, cultural exchange, and mutual aid." As Patel spoke, holographic displays lit up around the room, showing plans for massive space stations designed to serve as neutral grounds for negotiation and cooperation. "These Harmony Hubs," she explained, "will be placed at strategic points throughout the galaxy, offering safe havens for diplomacy and scientific collaboration." Admiral Sarah Chen then took the floor, her military uniform a stark contrast to her words of peace. "We will not be defenseless," she assured, "but our greatest defense will be unity. We call upon all races to join us in this endeavor. Together, we can create a network of allies too vast for any single aggressive force to overcome." As Earth's leaders outlined their plan, reactions poured in from across the galaxy. The Xeraxians and Drael, recent adversaries turned allies, were among the first to pledge their support. Other races, inspired by Earth's audacity, began to follow suit. Meanwhile, in a secret facility beneath the MIT campus, Dr. Samantha Carter and her team worked feverishly on their secret weapon. It wasn't a device of destruction, but one of connection. The Universal Translator, Carter explained to a group of wide-eyed officials, will allow instantaneous communication between all known species. No more misunderstandings, no more fear of the unknown. As the Volith deadline approached, Earth's plan was set in motion. Ships from a dozen alien races converged on the solar system, not as an invasion force, but as a peacekeeping armada. Leading them was a hastily constructed prototype of the first Harmony Hub, its gleaming structure a testament to what could be achieved through cooperation. Supreme Commander Zark of the Volith watched these developments with growing unease. His massive war cruiser hung in space just beyond Mars' orbit, weapons primed but not firing. "What trickery is this?" he hissed to his advisors. "Where is their fleet? Where are their weapons?" As if in answer, a transmission cut through the tense silence. It was Commander Jack O'Neill, broadcasting from the Harmony Hub prototype. "Supreme Commander Zark," O'Neill said, his voice calm but firm, "on behalf of Earth and our galactic allies, I invite you to board this station and talk. We believe there's room in this galaxy for the Volith too, if you're willing to find a new way forward." Zark's reptilian features contorted in confusion. This was not how war was supposed to go. Where was the glorious battle he had anticipated? Where was the cowering submission he had expected? Instead, he faced an offer of peace. For a moment, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, Zark nodded. "We will talk," he growled, the words seeming foreign on his tongue. As Zark's shuttle docked with the Harmony Hub, beings from a dozen different species lined the corridors, a living testament to the power of unity. Dr. Patel stood ready to greet him, Dr. Carter's Universal Translator at her side. Back on Earth, in the UN Command Center, President Rossi and Admiral Chen watched the proceedings with bated breath. "Do you think this will work?" Rossi whispered. Chen's eyes remained fixed on the screen, but a small smile played on her lips. "It already has," she replied. "Win or lose this negotiation, we've shown the galaxy that there's always another way. We've refused to go to war, and in doing so, we might just have changed the course of galactic history." As the talks began aboard the Harmony Hub, a wave of hope swept across the galaxy. The humans, those strange newcomers who refused to go to war, had done the impossible. They had brought sworn enemies to the negotiating table, had united disparate races under a banner of peace. It wasn't a final victory, not yet, but it was a beginning. A new chapter in galactic history, written not in the blood of soldiers, but in the shared dreams of countless beings reaching for the stars. And at the heart of it all was humanity, still refusing to go to war, still finding a better way. The days following the historic meeting aboard the Harmony Hub were filled with tense anticipation. Across the galaxy, beings of all species waited to see if humanity's audacious gambit would succeed. Would the warmongering Volith truly consider peace? Inside the hub, the talks stretched on. Supreme Commander Zark, initially skeptical and hostile, found himself slowly warming to the human way of thinking. Dr. Aisha Patel, with her endless patience and deep understanding of conflict resolution, led the negotiations. "You see, Commander Zark," Patel explained, her words seamlessly translated by Dr. Carter's device, "war is not the only way to prove strength. Often, it takes more courage to extend a hand in peace than to clench a fist in war. Zark's reptilian eyes narrowed. But how do we protect our interests? How do we ensure our species thrives? It was Admiral Sarah Chin who answered, her military background lending weight to her words. Through cooperation, not conflict. Imagine pooling our resources for exploration instead of destruction. Think of the advancements we could make together. As the talks progressed, news of their contents spread across the stars. On countless worlds, beings who had known only conflict began to dream of peace. The concept of the Galactic Peace Corps gained traction, with volunteers from hundreds of species stepping forward. On Earth, humans watched and waited. In town halls and community centers, people gathered to discuss this new future. Children in schools drew pictures of aliens and humans working side by side. It was a time of hope, but also of uncertainty. President Ileana Rossi addressed these concerns in a global broadcast. "Change is never easy," she said, her voice firm but compassionate. "But we humans have always been adaptable. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive tendencies. We can survive peace too." Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the doors of the Harmony Hub opened. Supreme Commander Zark emerged, flanked not by his warriors, but by Dr. Patel and Commander O'Neill. The galaxy collectively held its breath. Zark's voice, translated into 1,000 languages, boomed across the stars. "The Volith Empire," he began, his tone uncharacteristically subdued, "has always valued strength. Today, we have witnessed a new kind of strength, a strength not of arms, but of spirit." A cheer erupted across the galaxy as Zark continued. "We choose to join the Galactic Peace Corps. We will turn our warships into exploration vessels, our weapons factories into centers of learning. The Volith will find a new purpose in this grand experiment of peace." The celebrations that followed were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. On Earth, people poured into the streets, laughing, crying, and embracing strangers. On Mars, Governor Elena Rodriguez led a toast to peace that echoed through every dome. In the Alpha Centauri system, Commander O'Neill allowed himself a rare moment of unbridled joy. But amidst the celebrations, the real work was just beginning. The Harmony Hubs, once just a concept, began construction in earnest. Thousands of ships, once built for war, were repurposed to aid in their creation. The Galactic Peace Corps swelled with volunteers, eager to spread understanding across the stars. Dr. Samantha Carter's universal translator became a symbol of this new era, breaking down barriers between species that had been isolated for millennia. Knowledge flowed freely, spurring a renaissance of science and culture. Yet it wasn't all smooth sailing. Old habits died hard, and there were still conflicts to resolve. But now, instead of resorting to weapons, disputes were brought before the Peace Corps. Slowly but surely, a new galactic order began to take shape. 5 years after that fateful day when humanity refused to go to war, President Rossi stood before the first fully operational Harmony Hub. Representatives from every known sentient species in the galaxy crowded the massive central chamber. "We gather here today," Rossi began, her words echoing across the stars, "not as separate races, but as citizens of a united galaxy. We have chosen a path not of war, but of peace, not of division, but of unity." As she spoke, holographic displays showed scenes from across the galaxy. Former enemies working side by side on scientific projects, children of different species playing together, starships embarking on joint exploration missions. "This is why humans refuse to go to war," Rossi concluded, her eyes shining with pride and hope. "Because we believe in a better way. A way that lifts us all up, that pushes us to be our best selves. Today, we are all humans. Today, we are all one." As applause thundered through the hub and across the galaxy, a new chapter in cosmic history began. The humans who refused to go to war had changed the stars themselves, proving that the greatest power in the universe was not the ability to destroy, but the courage to create, to connect, and to care. And so, the galaxy looked to the future, not with fear, but with hope. The era of war was over. The age of peace had begun.